Yo, a billionaire who 100x the value of his public company is in under 5 years just exposed Wall Street's dirty secret that he called the 4% rule. Today, we're going to be explaining how you could use this 4% rule to outperform the market and retire sooner than you think. We're also going to be revealing some of the other secrets Michael exposed in this speech that he gave yesterday at Strategy's most anticipated event of the year, Strategy World. Strategy World. Anyways, let's check out the clip and then we will talk about it. 4% will make you rich.
Okay, here's the painful one. All of the wealth created in the stock market comes from 4% of the public companies. 96% of these companies have performance equivalent to a treasury bill. That's brutal, right? 96% of the companies can't beat a T-bill. Here's a snapshot of stock performance of the S&P. So we pull the 500 companies. These are the greatest 500 companies in the world. Look at them on this distribution chart. What you can see is that the Magnificent Seven, they're up 221% over the past 4 years. S&P is up 67%. 96% of the S&P companies are underperforming the Mag 7. 96%. 68% can't beat the index.
So, I'm joined here, of course, with James from Stamp Seed, and of course, my legendary co-host, always optimistic, Optimus Fields. Those numbers are brutal. We have more clips, by the way, from his presentation from Strategy World yesterday, but those numbers are brutal, right? So the top 7 stocks, essentially the top 7 tech stocks, are essentially outperforming the rest of the stock market, essentially. And if you buy something outside of the 7, the returns are not really there. And he's not making the case only to investors. He's making the case to corporations, because he's basically saying, like, look, if you're a corporation, you have absolutely no chance at competing with some of these big players like Google, like Meta. What should you do? You should buy Bitcoin. And what's really crazy about MicroStrategy is that essentially Saylor has said it himself. There was no way of them competing with Microsoft. Microsoft essentially made their software free. How do you compete with that, as a software, an enterprise software company? And essentially they were gone. Like, they were going to go out of business eventually. And that's why Saylor was essentially forced into a corner and pivot to Bitcoin and become a Bitcoin holding company. Metaplanet is a very similar story. They were essentially a dead hotel chain that was heavily affected by the pandemic, and they pivoted. They used the cash flows from the business to essentially acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, and then use the capital markets and debt instruments again to buy more Bitcoin at very, very cheap debt. And the performance has been insane. Like, Strategy is a huge success story. Like, it essentially 10x'd in a matter of 4 years. I think more than that, actually. The market cap of the company was at $1 billion, and it went to $100 billion in a matter of 4 or 5 years. That is the definition of a success story. And it's all because Saylor decided to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. Now, I think that this applies to an individual on an individual level. And I think this applies to a smaller company level too. I actually have this saved in my drafts on X. Adopt a Bitcoin strategy. Don't just do it. And I promise you, your life will get better. And it's for a very simple reason, right? You're saving in money that isn't being debased. That's it. It's as simple as that. So Saylor is making the case, because this is Bitcoin for corporations. That's the name of the event, Strategy World. He's making the case for corporations. Listen, most of these companies that are publicly traded are zombie companies. You don't have a shot at competing with these big monopolies. Adopt a Bitcoin strategy and you have a chance at winning, right? you have a chance at succeeding. And he makes a very, very solid case for that, which is, very, very strong. Anyways, I have a couple other clips from some of his talks from yesterday. Let's check some of those out, and then me, James, and Opti will talk about it.
What is the MicroStrategy story? Well, in August of 2020, we faced reality. We had tried everything under the sun, buybacks. We had tried spending massive money on marketing, massive money on sales, expanded our sales force, expanded our technology function. We launched, dozens of new businesses. We wound them down. Every possible strategy you could. None of them worked. And when the lockdowns hit, we realized we were looking at a fast death or a slow death, or we were going to have to take a risk. And so we decided to take a risk. And when we did it, our stock was about $12 a share, and $6 of that was cash. So the enterprise value of the company was $6. When we did this slide, it's $394. So you can see we could have sold the company for an enterprise value of $6 to $8, or we could go ahead and take a risk and embrace a new idea. And we decided to do that. You can see our trading volume is 5 million a day. Our trading volume now is 5.9 billion a day, right? I mean, you could see our open interest.
So describing essentially what I was talking about, right? Saylor, MicroStrategy was toast, and there was nothing they could do. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing, on R&D, on sales, and they just couldn't catch the monopoly of which is Microsoft. And Microsoft essentially was giving their software for free at some point. Like you can't compete with that. So essentially, they're dead in the water, and they were forced to pivot. They pivoted to a Bitcoin strategy, and this company that was otherwise going to go under essentially has become one of the biggest success story on Wall Street. And it's just a matter of time before other companies that are in very similar positions to MicroStrategy, they have no chance at competing with some of these, obviously, the big seven. They just adopt a Bitcoin strategy and they have a fighting chance, right? Adopting a Bitcoin strategy is a cheat code. Your runway just gets progressively bigger. Everything gets progressively cheaper. It's cheat code. It's a cheat code as an individual. It's a cheat code as a nation state, and it's a cheat code obviously on a large kind of institutional level as well. So that's crazy though. Like think about that for a second. What Saylor said to unpack it. 4%, 4% of the equities market is what's actually going to give you those decent returns. And that's really like all you need, in terms of your financial planning and, trying to figure out what you should invest in or what you should put your money into to retire into the future. Excellent breakdown from Saylor. I have one more clip from his presentation. And then again, me, James, and Opti will talk about it.
So I want to start with the challenge that every company faces. If you've been living in the 21st century, you know that the winners are the digital monopolies. Apple's winning, Meta is winning, Google is winning, Microsoft is winning, Amazon is winning. The more unpleasant part of this observation is that the price that we pay for Amazon to win is 20,000 retailers have to lose. And the price we pay for Apple to win is 20,000 device manufacturers have to lose. And the price that we pay for Google to win is 20,000 journalist organizations, media, newspapers have to lose. And you can see from this chart, the Magnificent Seven are certainly winning. The 500 greatest companies in the world, that is, out of the 400 million companies on the planet, the 500 greatest companies in the world are getting smoked by the Magnificent Seven. They're struggling. And I spent many years in the public market if a public company can't grow organically 15% a year or more, institutional investors lose interest. The liquidity in the stock dries up, the liquidity in the equity disappears, and then the options disappear. And I remember when it used to be everybody's dream, I can't wait to go public. You're going to start a company and your idea was, if I could just go public, I will have made it. And what I'm saying is going public is just the next step. But what you find is even if you do go public, unless you can keep up with the Magnificent Seven, you're not making it. Another way to look at the world today is in the public markets, most companies in the public market are what I call zombie companies. They don't have much liquidity. They don't have an options market. They can't beat the S&P index. They can't retain earnings. They can't raise capital. They can't take risk. They're trapped in this paradigm where the capital is toxic, volatility is toxic, inflation is toxic. And this is the dilemma that we face. You can actually see it playing out if you look at a list of publicly traded companies over the past 20 years. This is publicly listed companies in the US, and you can see how they've been getting ground down. It's not a chart of success. If I showed you anything in the modern world and the chart went down and to the right, you would say this is failure, or this is a gradual progressive slide to malaise.
So, I mean, breaking it down in a very excellent fashion, like Saylor always does. And, what I will say is that I think he's absolutely right. I mean, this is something that I think, we always say here on Simply Bitcoin that Bitcoin exposes all incentives. Like, that's what we say. We say this all the time. Bitcoin exposes incentives. Bitcoin exposes the dysfunction of essentially the fiat system. And I think what you're seeing there, like the result of all those zombie companies, the result of this concentration of success, I think is the Billionaire effect. I think we're seeing it. And I think you're seeing Bitcoin essentially fix it from within. And it's absolutely beautiful because it's one of the companies that essentially were being, we're outside of one of the big monopolies that, essentially was the first to market with a Bitcoin strategy. So, I mean, I don't think people are aware of this. I think most people were asleep. I think a lot of people thought that the markets were healthy. This is a tremendous amount of concentration, of centralization. And I think, like Bitcoin always does, it exposes things, right? It just shows it for the world to see. I mean, I don't think Saylor would have come to this conclusion if it wasn't for him being forced to look into Bitcoin, or his company was going to go under, and then him coming to the realization of like, wow, like I think a lot of other companies find themselves in the position that MicroStrategy was in not too long ago. So anyways, that's my take on all this. I want to get James and Opti's take. I mean, it's pretty eye-opening, and I love the way he breaks it down. I just don't think people are aware of this, man. And he's absolutely right. I think most people, they think, okay, my company's public, I've made it. This is great. This is a huge success story. But what they don't tell you is that, look, you're getting your ass kicked by the big seven, So anyways, I'm going to start off with James. Also want to welcome James on the show. Stamp Seed guys, store your generational wealth properly, maintain your relationship with the future generations. Could you imagine 50, 60 years from now, and you're going to want to pass your generational wealth to your grandchildren, and then you can't because you wrote down your seed phrase on paper and you then stamp it into titanium. Yeah, that's bad. Stampseed.com. Anyways, James, what are your thoughts, bro? Pretty eye-opening, like always, from Saylor. He just continues to go down the rabbit hole and drops truth bombs on the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, classic Saylor. you got to say that there. And all in all, like these magnificent, those big 7 companies, they're only going to get bigger, stronger. And if you're, a company that's struggling or a borderline zombie company embracing Bitcoin, as you say, it's a great cheat code. It's just shocking that more companies haven't taken advantage of it yet. More people aren't talking about it yet, but it's something that we're just used to in the Bitcoin space. It's that we are very well aware of and we hear about all day long on X and then through podcasts. And then once you step out there, it's like no one really even knows who Michael Saylor is, but they're starting to catch on now. Things are coming to light. People are starting to catch on. Hopefully more companies do what he's doing. It's a cheat code. It's like if you have no other options as a company and you have some time and you have, one last shot at trying to, keep the boat afloat, just embrace Bitcoin. It's so simple to do. Buy it, hold it, just like we all do. It's very easy to do. Hopefully we're at a time where we see more companies doing this.
Yeah, 100%. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro? The 4% rule, 4%. I mean, dude, a concentration of wealth. Talk about the quintillionaire effect. I just don't think people are aware of this, man. Like, if you're not in the big 7, you're struggling as a company, bro. Most people are just not interested in purchasing, your stock and stuff. That's pretty eye-opening that Saylor starts off, Bitcoin for corporations. I mean, he's incentivized to do that. He's incentivized for more corporations to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. But I will say is like, Bitcoin is a system of aligned incentives. And, Opti and I and James, all of our senses are aligned essentially because yes, like we want number to go up. Yes, we want to talk about Bitcoin, et cetera, but and obviously you guys should buy Bitcoin. But again, if you buy Bitcoin, number goes up for us. Everybody wins. It's an aligned incentive structure system. It's in stark contrast with the fiat system, which is a misaligned incentive structure system where there's a group of winners and then mostly everyone is losers. And I think what Saylor maybe, purposely or not on purpose has run into is that like, holy shit, there's a misalignment of incentives here. Anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I think the first thing is kind of echoing what you guys were saying, that first of all, you probably don't notice this if you aren't a Bitcoiner, because you're probably looking at the traditional financial system and you're seeing like, oh, my stock is hold on. You're good, James. You're probably looking at the financial system and you're looking at your stock's gain value, what he said, basically you'll gain 10-20% a year, whatever. But when you really go into the plumbing, you realize that you're barely breaking even, if that. If you're able to get more than 15% returns, you're probably, just barely breaking even. And in reality, you are probably holding some toxic equity in a zombie company. And the other metric that was really interesting was that the majority of companies in the S&P 500, which is, kind of gauging the health of Wall Street and the stock market, can't even outperform treasury bills. And we've all been seeing here, especially as a Bitcoiner, you look at T-bills now, because we all know that bonds are essentially the risk-free, investment return here. And most of the companies can't even outperform that. And here we are as Bitcoiners just kind of chilling and being like, all you really need to do is just buy some Bitcoin. And again, don't take it from us. Like someone yesterday said, like, oh, these financial gurus in t-shirts. Like, we're not financial gurus. All we understand is Bitcoin is better than everything else. And once you understand that simple idea, which is kind of a new idea, and a lot of people have an issue with basically taking risk and wrapping their heads around a new idea. And there's a lot of takeaways that you can get from just those couple clips of Saylor. One, obviously the big like 4% rule, that basically 96% of all of Wall Street is not doing well. And it's really only the Magnificent Seven that are dominating right now. And if you're not holding those stocks, you're being left behind. And then On the flip side, people are probably like, oh, I don't want to buy the big, Mag 7 because everyone knows their names. There's probably not that much, gain price exposure left in those. And they're looking for alternative ways. And this is where things get complicated and people go into all kinds of financial trickery to try to outperform the stock market or outperform treasury bills. And Saylor's basically keep saying it's like, all you have to do is literally buy Bitcoin. Or as he kind of said it, I did everything for my company. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are doing something similar. They're trying new marketing strategies. They're trying to build new products. They're trying to get their product in a new area. And in reality, I'm not saying that everyone should just turn themselves into a Bitcoin treasury company, but what you need to do is have, a decent company and then start saving in Bitcoin. And if you just save in Bitcoin, it's literally the simplest strategy possible. You will outperform everything else. And this is the main takeaway here. Like, you don't have to complicate things. Bitcoin will outperform everything. All you have to do is take the risk, or rather, take the leap to understand Bitcoin, take the leap to understand how to custody your Bitcoin, and you will literally outperform the best traders on Wall Street. And you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is buy Bitcoin, store it, and chill. Like, stack sats and chill is literally the winning strategy. But it's just not as sexy as being like a Wall Street trader with all your, 12 screens and, picking the hot new stock and being in earning calls and all that stuff. And it's just like, just stack Bitcoin every week or every month or every 2 weeks, whatever works for you. It's literally the winning strategy. Let's not forget that the way Saylor 100x his company was literally just buying Bitcoin. So, if you don't have capital stuck in Wall Street or in a trading account or 401k, etc., and you actually just have the cash, you should probably follow his strategy, which is literally just buy Bitcoin. Just keep buying Bitcoin. This is how you win. But it is very interesting, like the data that he put out there. Most people probably don't understand that idea that, hey, only 4% of the stock market is actually winning right now. So all your other stocks are probably trash. And I know people don't like to hear that because everyone has a sunk cost fallacy and they're like, no, this one's going to pump, man. It's getting 20% a year. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. What's Bitcoin's CAGR right now? It's like 55%. Even on down years, it's like, it's literally the simplest strategy. Just follow what Saylor does and buy Bitcoin for yourself, for your company, for your grandma, whoever it is that needs to store their wealth. This is the only way to win right now. Considering we are seeing that, I don't know if you guys saw, but it looks like QE, or rather not QE, is back on the table. So it looks like the money printer is about to continue to ramp up. Looks like inflation's probably going to get higher. The only way to protect yourself is holding something that they cannot debase. And of course, that is Bitcoin. And, hopefully this video gets in front of a lot of people that aren't necessarily Bitcoiners. And right now they're freaking out and they're like, oh, these Bitcoiners, they're trying to get me to buy a scam. And I think now is the least risky time to be buying Bitcoin, considering all the mega news we've heard around Bitcoin. This is the time to be buying. Right now is when you should be buying Bitcoin. You're going to look back at this time and be like, damn, I should have listened to those idiots in t-shirts and hoodies on YouTube with 45 IQs that understand the traditional financial system better than my Charles Schwab guy in a suit. It's so simple.
I mean,
just
technically the Charles Schwab announced that they are adding.
Yeah, so they'll buy it. They'll buy it at 250K. They'll miss out on 2x gains from here and be like, damn, I could have tripled my wealth if I just listened to these idiots on YouTube. But hey, you know what it is.
Oh, man. Guys, well, it's going to be an incredible show. We have so much to unpack today. Starting off strong, covering a little bit of what was happening at Strategy World yesterday. I believe today is day 2 of Strategy World and Bitcoin for corporations. So very interesting stuff. Guys, I've ran into a really cool post by someone that goes by the name of Smithston With on X, and he has a Smitty's Bitcoin Retirement Guide ebook edition, and I thought it was a really fascinating thread. I found so much value out of it. We're going to cover that. Then also breaking news. This is the block. The headline is Russia seen as largest Bitcoin mining beneficiary if Trump's tariffs hit in full. Now, what's really interesting about that, again, is the game theory, right? Something that we've been talking a lot about on Simply Bitcoin. What is the game theory? The game theory is simple. You know, if a country bans Bitcoin, or a country becomes hostile towards Bitcoin, or if a country does something stupid, you know, politically, whatever, it creates an opportunity for another jurisdiction to step in and say, you know what, we'll take your hash rate. You know, if it becomes expensive to ship miners into the United States because of the tariffs, we're just going to go to another jurisdiction where it's cheaper. That's exactly what we saw during the China mining ban. The hash rate plummeted by 50% when the CCP banned Bitcoin mining within their borders. Within 9 months, not only did the hash rate recover, the price recovered as well, right? Also, Florida, unfortunately, you know, sorry, I apologize on behalf of my state. Florida withdraws strategic Bitcoin reserve bills from consideration. However, breaking news, we covered this yesterday when Frank came on the show, which was absolutely massive. The state of New Hampshire has officially become the first U.S. state that has codified it into law that they're going to, it's legal for the state of New Hampshire to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The governor signed the bill. It's officially into law. Big loss for the state of Arizona. It was on the governor's desk, and Governor Katie Hobbs of Arizona vetoed the bill. So progress on the state level, progress on the federal level, exciting stuff. And then, of course, our special guest today, the legend, the man, the myth himself. We got James from Stamp Seed in the house, and we're going to be talking about some new interesting things coming out of Stamp Seed, guys. They now have custom titanium seed plate. James reached out to me yesterday. He was like, Nico, what should I put on this custom titanium? I couldn't come up with anything because James already sent us the Simply Bitcoin one. I'm like, what do I put on this seed plate? It's custom. I can put anything on this seed plate now. Like, this is crazy. So we're going to be talking about all that. James has it in his hand. That's it, James. I just came up with the idea. It's the new Simply Bitcoin logo. There we go. Boom. Boom. Anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. Smash that like button. Before we jump into it, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor, by far the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. What makes BitcoinWell different and unique is that it's a self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramp. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of taking back your financial sovereignty. And the way you do that is by taking Bitcoin into self-custody. Head over to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. And just for signing up and making your first purchase, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well for an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats every time you toss a coin into the wishing well. When you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards potentially a Cybertruck, a Simply Bitcoin hoodie, a leather mint wallet, a Well Stamp Seed plate, and we're going to do it live for you guys right now. Bam, bing, bam, boom. Toss a coin into the wishing well, and first person to scan the QR code has won 371 sats. If you're a higher net worth individual looking for a white glove service with a dedicated account representative assigned to you every time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin, check out Bitcoin Well Infinite to get started. Go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC to get started. You can book a call. And again, you're going to have a dedicated account representative every single time you want to buy or sell Bitcoin. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We'll be back in just a second.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on StampSeed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the StampSeed website where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. Store your generational wealth properly. Don't write down your seed phrase on paper. Stamp it into titanium, and the StampSeed kit will enable you to do that. And for anyone who's confused, yes, the kit is for you to do it in the privacy of your own home. They don't actually stamp the seed for you. So you do this is do it yourself. And you only have to buy the kit once. You could buy as many plates. You can start collecting plates. There's like different types of plates. It's pretty cool. Definitely awesome. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 96,770. We hit 97K this morning. That was really nice. But when 100K, I think soon. I think it's going to happen soon. If not, I blame Opti. Block height, 895,681. Market cap, 1.92 trillion. Sats per dollar, 1,033. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 8.04%, percentage issued 94.57%, decline from all-time high. If you buy Bitcoin right now, you're getting it at 11.3% discount. And my favorite stat out of all this, the 0.84% inflation rate, continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. All right, everybody. So I ran into this thread. I want to talk about it. I know you guys will absolutely love it and appreciate it. It is called Smitty's Bitcoin Retirement Guide, ebook edition, only here on X. The wait is over. You're going to want to bookmark this. I'm going to drop this in the video thread on YouTube and on Rumble, so you guys could check it out yourself. It is a lot of fun. And essentially what he says, without detailing the exact instructions on how to use the guide, this time around, I will explain the important changes, and from there, please engage, share, and enjoy. Updated model. This is a critical solution, and I'll explain why. Rather than using the median 50th quantile power regression model, as was used in the previous versions, Smitty's ebook uses the 5th quantile. Why? Statistically, theoretically, this ensures that 95% of the time, the desired annual withdrawal rate, living/spending costs, will not need to be down adjusted due to volatility, because by definition, only 5% of the price falls below this support line. See my other models. Therefore, you should only expect to need to down adjust roughly once in 20 years. This makes this ebook version more conservative while maintaining realism and clearly attainability of stacking targets. It goes on to say, I'm only posting these to X for now, but since in the past there has been so much positive engagement, I wanted to keep the overall brand while enhancing the styling so that it feels like an easy mini reader for folks comparing spending/stacking scenarios for retirement. It also has high DPI now with nice borders, headers/footers, even page numbers. Feel free to print out and make a physical copy or choose your favorite scenario. It goes on to say, table edition. I've been meaning to include this change for a while. Not all of us are graphic/visually inclined, and indeed many of us are table/spreadsheet inclined. Therefore, below the graphs, I added easy to read lookup tables, which exactly map to the retirement years and current age from the graphs. As always, the key assumptions in the guide to remember: 1. Assume 7% annual inflation rate going forward. 2. Taxes not accounted for. Tax policy is too variable and too liable to change in any given year. 3, you're living to 100, or at least planning your conservative BTC spend down plan out to that age. So as always, flip through the replies in this thread and enjoy the new tool. So it goes on to say, quote, helping you develop a better Bitcoin stacking target for life planning. So the first one, is 50K. So how much Bitcoin do you need to retire by age if you want to withdraw $50,000 a year until you're 100 years old, right? And it breaks it down by age. So if you're age 5 and you want to withdraw 50K a year for the net until you're 100, so 95 years, you would need 5.48 Bitcoin.
Hey, Nico,
However,
can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we're gonna spend a little bit of time on this one because there's a lot of breakdowns. So, what about age 15? So, at 2025, if you want to take out 50K a year from the age 15 until the age 100, right? You would need 5.42 Bitcoin. What about age? Let's focus on the demographics of this show, age 35 to 55. So if you're 35 years old and you want to withdraw 50K a year, starting from 2025 until you're 100 years old, you would need 5.3 Bitcoin. If you're age 55, you would need 5.16 Bitcoin if you want to start withdrawing until you're 100. However, I know what a lot of you guys are saying, especially if you guys are part of the new classes. It's a lot of Bitcoin. I don't have that type of Bitcoin. What are you talking about, Nico? You're making me feel bad. It gets better because by the year 2035, so exactly 10 years from now, check this out. If between the ages of 35 and 55, you would need roughly 1.2 to 1.07 Bitcoin if you want to withdraw 50K a year until you're 100 years old. Just one Bitcoin. Now, what if you want to withdraw 100K a year, right? And it changes the numbers. So let's focus on the demographics of this show, age 35 to 55. If you want to take out $100,000 a year from age 35 to 100, you would need, and not run out of money. And again, this is very conservative. You would need 10.6 Bitcoin. If you're age 55, you would need 10.33 Bitcoin. That's this year. How about the year 2035? Well, in 2035, 10 years from now, you would need 2.4 Bitcoin. And if you're 55, you need 2.14 Bitcoin. Now, it gets even better as time progresses. What about the year 2045? Well, you would only need 1.07 Bitcoin if you're 35, and you would need 0.81 Bitcoin if you're 55. And it just gets, the quantities just get smaller and smaller as time goes by, right? If you want to live the big baller lifestyle, I'm going to end it at this one, and you want to withdraw, because it goes by numbers, and I highly suggest you guys go through this. So 250K a year, 300K a year, 350K, 400K, 450K, but you want to live like Michael Saylor. You want to spend $1 million a year. So you would need roughly at age 35, 105 Bitcoin if you want to start living that big baller lifestyle in the year 2025, and you want to withdraw $1 million a year and not run out of essentially money by the time you turn 100. If you're age 55, you need 103 Bitcoin. However, by the year 2035, look at how much these things change. You would only need 24 Bitcoin. 24 Bitcoin if you're age 35 and you want to withdraw $1 million for the rest of your life until the age of 100. If you're 55, you would need even less. You need 21 Bitcoin 10 years from now. And if you want to wait to the year 2045, it gets even smaller than that. 10.75 Bitcoin. 10.75 Bitcoin year 2045, you'd be able to withdraw $1 million a year. I thought this was absolutely fascinating, really, really interesting, and it breaks it down by income. So 50K a year, 100K a year, 150K a year, 200K a year, 250K a year, 300K a year, 350K a year, 400K, and it breaks it down by age. It even goes to age 5, and it goes all the way up to age 75, and it just breaks it down. Really, really interesting. Like I said, I put it in the live chat. I'm going to put it in the video description as well for you guys, so you guys could tap into it. You guys could plug it in, depending on your financial situation. But anyways, I want to get James' thoughts on this, and then Opti's.
Yeah, man, I think that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of those days, like looking at the 401k with the safe harbor plans, with the target retirement ages that they always put up there, how much you would have to invest to get, $800 a week when you retire, whatever like the low amounts are. So it's kind of cool to look at it this way and project, what you could be making monthly, weekly, annually, based on that retirement age. It's pretty cool. And it seems like, I mean, it's if you look on a conservative like level of it, it's very attainable. I mean, for less than one Bitcoin, if you plan on retiring in the next 20 years, you could pull out 50,000 a year and have that as, if you've been very bearish lately or late to Bitcoin, like it still works very well. And, like, not to be like morbid, but most people aren't living to 100, right? So like it would probably be even easier to acquire that, 50,000 a year. Maybe you do 75,000 a year because you're going to live to 75 or 85 or something like that. So it's a pretty interesting way to look at things. As Bitcoiners, we always think of the future and look into the future. So it's nice to have something here that you kind of use as a worksheet and play around with the what ifs and what should I be acquiring on a daily basis to retire at this age. It's a very good worksheet that, all Bitcoiners should have, especially, new people coming in who are looking for a different retirement plan other than a 401k or, trying to keep up with the day trader of the world, So yeah, pretty cool. And at the end of the day, right, you're holding Bitcoin for this long. Make sure you have your, private keys and self-custody. You're stamping your seed phrase into titanium. So it's there. It'll be able to last longer than 100 years. So you want to make sure you have your Bitcoin there with you. Yeah, really fascinating chart here. I'm going to bookmark this one. Thanks, Smitty.
Yeah, it's super cool. I love how he put it together. I want to ask Opti, what do you think, dude? What do you think about all these numbers? Initially 2020, like let's stick to the 100K, right? Like the 100K a year. Again, like especially guys, if you just got into Bitcoin the last couple of years. 10 Bitcoin's extremely unattainable for 99% of people. It looks depressing, right? But as time goes by, doesn't look depressing at all, right? By the year 2050, 2045, you'll need at least one Bitcoin and you could be able to pull out $100,000 a year. And this is adjusted for inflation, by the way. So this is taking into account 7% inflation. Someone in the chat says this doesn't account for hyper Bitcoinization. Who wants to withdraw fiat? This is very, very true. Very, very astute comment. Thomas Martinez says, yo, let's all retire. Anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts on this, brother?
Well, first of all, I feel like I have to do my PSA every time about retirement just because I fundamentally don't really believe in retirement. I do get the idea of, when you get older, you probably don't want to be working like, a dead-end job or working at McDonald's. But I'm reminded of this quote that my friend has on this piece of art at his house. And it says, it's an Albert Camus quote, Albert Camus quote. And it says, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. And I absolutely loved that when I first heard it. And essentially, for those people that don't know, Sisyphus is the guy that pushed the rock up the hill. And it kind of goes into like, it's the journey and the process. And again, I've said this multiple times on the show about retirement, that a lot of my dad's friends, when they retire, I've seen them go downhill very quickly. So you want to be doing something. But when we do talk about this retirement thing, and it's a huge trend, not even just in Bitcoin, but in just like financial, social media, financial content. It's just this idea of like quitting your job and doing something that you don't like so you can focus on something you do like. And so in that spirit, I really do like this new data here, this new graph. And I wonder if there's like a way that people can kind of use that chart and type in their own things. Like if it's open source or whatever, like that would be pretty cool. So people can type in their own things. But the point remains the same. We've done multiple different ways of trying to calculate how much Bitcoin you actually need to, quote unquote, retire, or what are some good attainable stacking goals here. Because we all know, like, the name of the game is try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. Like, you want to try to always get as much Bitcoin as possible. That's always the MO. Just try to get as much. We are playing Pac-Man. We're playing Hungry Hippo. You want to set up your life in a way where you can acquire, or rather save in Bitcoin for as long as humanly possible. And that usually means having a business with some kind of cash flow, or having a job that pays you well, having a skill so that you can always continue to save in Bitcoin. But we've used a bunch of different calculators. And of course, none of us know where the Bitcoin price is going. We don't really have an idea. All we know it's going up and to the right. And you can kind of just base how much Bitcoin you need on the past and the gains we've seen and kind of hypotheticals of where we think it's going. But I do like this new graph here because it does show something, and it's something I've been saying on the show a lot when we do these how much Bitcoin do you need to retire videos. And when we first started, Nico, I think it was like 100 or 21 or whatever it was. I forget what the number, but it was multiple. It was double digits minimum Bitcoin that you need to retire. And now with this new data, it shows you what I've been saying forever. You don't need as much Bitcoin probably as you think you do to retire in the future. Obviously, it is dependent on what kind of life you want to live. But I'm just fundamentally convinced that if Bitcoin does what we think it does, Bitcoin is barely under it's right under $2 trillion market cap. If we kind of, factor everything in and we guesstimate of where we think the total market cap of Bitcoin is going in our lifetime, you could say that it's going to, multiple hundreds of trillions of dollars for market cap. So 100x, maybe you could say 250x, etc. Like Bitcoin is going for the total pie here. And with that in mind, it just shows you that you probably need less Bitcoin than you want. Of course, this isn't like telling you to be complacent and not stacking as much Bitcoin as possible. It just goes to show that if Bitcoin, or rather when Bitcoin becomes the global money, the one true money, the perfect money that everyone in the world taps into and uses as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value, the Bitcoin you hold today will be an incredible amount of wealth moving forward. And you probably need less Bitcoin than the number you have in your mind. And so, when I first got into Bitcoin, it was the 1 million club. Everyone's like, get to 21 Bitcoin. And then our boy American Hodl came out and said, get 6.15. And as these new eras come around and the price per Bitcoin goes higher, you're starting to see that the amount that people perceived to be attainable just drops drastically. And I think this is the takeaway here, that just acquire as much Bitcoin as you can. Do not feel like you should feel ashamed of how much Bitcoin you have, because you're already ahead of the game. As long as you are saving in Bitcoin, I'm convinced you're going to be good moving forward. So just keep stacking. Maybe, retirement or living by the beach or whatever your white picket dream fence, dreams are. I think it's attainable, but only if you're saving in Bitcoin, only if you understand what Bitcoin is, only if you understand how to store it long term. The point remains the same. As long as you're saving in Bitcoin, you'll probably need less Bitcoin than you imagine today. And that's kind of falling back into like we overestimate what happens in 2 years and we underestimate what happens in 10 years. I'm convinced in 10 years, Bitcoin's going to be huge in terms of market cap. And I'm sure if everyone just doubles down, grinds it out, you're going to be living a good life. Now, this is a good chart. I like this new data here because it does make this seem a lot more attainable than just being like, oh yeah, based on these old charts, you need like 100 Bitcoin, bro, or you're going to be a brokey for the rest of your life. This one's like, get a couple coins. You'll be all right. Like get half a coin. You'll probably be all right by the time you're 50 or the time you hit your, the official retirement age. Like, you probably need less Bitcoin than we even imagine. But, play Pac-Man. Acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. We are playing Sonic the Hedgehog here. Get as much Bitcoin as possible.
Absolutely right. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. Broke 500 live viewers on YouTube. Smash the like button if you guys are enjoying the show. 70 live viewers on Rumble and roughly 1,300 of you guys watching live on X. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, smash that like button. Head over to stampseed.com today. Get yourself a Stampseed kit. Use promo code SIMPLY. 15% off. Store your generational wealth properly. Guys, we still have lots to cover and uncover. In the news segment, we're going to be talking about Russia, the tariffs, mining. We're going to be talking about Florida. Come on, Florida. What's happening? Might have to move to New Hampshire. I don't think so. But it seems like New Hampshire is first to it with passing a strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. The state of New Hampshire, Florida seems like it just not into it. And then during the culture segment, we're going to be talking about the Stampseed kit. So ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back in just a second. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe. And you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, CoinKite. If you take your Bitcoin security seriously, you'll need the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market to take self-custody. That's where Cold Card comes in. The Cold Card Q is the most advanced Bitcoin signing device ever made. It's got a full keyboard, larger screen, and NFC support, making air-gap signing easier than ever. It's built for power users who want the ultimate security without sacrificing usability. And if you're looking for a battle-tested, uncompromising cold storage, the Cold Card MK4 is your go-to with PSPT signing, an industrial-grade secure element, and USB-C. It's the perfect blend of security and convenience. Both devices are, of course, 100% Bitcoin only, open source, and built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Secure your Bitcoin the right way with the Cold Card Q and the MK4. Head over to coldcard.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we're back, and Opti is holding the Cold Card Q in his hand. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's the best hardware wallet in the game. And if you use promo code SIMPLY, you get 5% off. Not Opti, but the Cold Card Q. And you could also go check out the MK4. But it doesn't matter what hardware wallet you use, because if you don't store your seed phrase properly, it doesn't matter. Because if you lose your hardware wallet, you won't be able to recover it, which is why you should get yourself a stamp seed kit. ASMR.
Cringe. Super cringe.
Oh, look, I'm alfalfa. Anyways, all right, everybody. So let's talk about, let's talk about Florida first. And I don't know what's going on with Florida. But Florida withdraws strategic Bitcoin reserve bills from consideration. Florida has withdrawn 2 bills related to the creation of a state-level strategic Bitcoin reserve. House Bill 487 and Senate Bill 550 have been indefinitely postponed and withdrawn from consideration. Florida joins numerous other states such as Wyoming, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma, which have seen bills related to BTC investments fail to clear the legislative process. Florida has withdrawn 2 bills related to the creation of a state-level strategic Bitcoin reserve. House Bill 487 and Senate Bill 550 have been indefinitely postponed and withdrawn from consideration. According to the state Senate website, the 2 bills, which were both filed in February, sought to allow investment of public funds in BTC. Florida joins numerous. I already said that part, but you guys get the gist of it. The most advanced state level process to establish a BTC reserve bill was Arizona, but Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed it. But breaking news, we broke it on yesterday's show. The state of New Hampshire has codified it into law. Moving on to Russia, and then I want to get Opti and James' thoughts on this. Russia seen as largest Bitcoin mining beneficiary if Trump's tariffs hit in full, industry expert says. It goes on to say, despite President Trump's embrace of crypto and desire to make the U.S. a, quote, Bitcoin mining powerhouse, companies in the industry have been rushing to adjust their short and long-term plans in an attempt to weather the impact of the president's tariff policies, with Russia potentially the main beneficiary. Trump's tariff announcement hit both traditional and crypto markets hard between February and early April, especially following, quote, Liberation Day, when he laid out about reciprocal import tariffs with a baseline of 10% and more than 50% in such cases. However, a 90-day tariff pause for most countries except China subsequently offered some relief that has continued into May. The trouble is, most Bitcoin mining hardware is still designed outside of the US. The industry has long been dominated by Antminer, a product line of China-based Bitmain with over 80% of market share. Therefore, raising import tariffs on the required equipment severely impacts the industry's bottom line and the share of prices of publicly listed Bitcoin mining firms in the country. The current environment is perhaps exemplified by Riot Platforms selling Bitcoin for the first time in 15 months this April to help finance operations, a break from its typical HODL strategy and rising costs. It goes on to say, quote, as of today, we are facing a 12.6% tariff from units shipping from Asia to the US. Quote, we expected this to increase in July from 26 to 38%, depending on the country of origin. There is, of course, a chance that these tariffs are renegotiated ahead of the 90-day pause. I mean, this is the awesome part of Bitcoin, right? Even with Orange Man, President Trump going in there and having these tariffs that could potentially affect the Bitcoin mining industry, it just creates an opportunity for a more favorable jurisdiction. And Russia swooping in and saying, hey, you know what? If you're making it difficult for miners there, we'll take your business and, we'll enrich the Russian people or the country of Russia, right? The same thing happened with the China mining ban, the infamous China mining ban. The CCP banned Bitcoin mining within their borders. 80% of the hash rate was there at the time. The hash rate dropped by like 50, 60%. And all that hash moved to the United States and moved to Kazakhstan and moved to more favorable jurisdictions. And it decentralized the Bitcoin hash rate in the process. I'm not a big fan of all this hash rate located in one country, located in the US. This is actually a question that Frank asked Howard Lupnick, Secretary of Commerce, when he did his interview with him at the White House. And this is a concern. Like, you as a Bitcoiner, you want the hash rate decentralized, right? But it's very fascinating to see the game theory play out, right? If one country, figuratively shits the bed from a regulatory perspective, from a commerce perspective, that creates the opportunity for another country to swoop in and say, hey, you know what, Bitcoin miners, we'll take your business, bro. And it seems like Russia, which has a tremendous amount of energy, is saying, hey, you know what? We might benefit from this, right? Even China might look at this as an opportunity. I'm saying that. Even China might see this as an opportunity to potentially attract Bitcoin miners back to China, since they shot the bed so hard. Anyways, Opti, you want to get your thoughts? Then James, and then move on to the culture segment, talk about Stamp Seed.
Yeah, well, obviously, as much as I like the rhetoric of like, make Bitcoin in America, like, I just think it's funny. I think I have a hat over here. Hold on. Yeah. I have the Santa Mao, make Bitcoin in America hat. Like, it's just funny to me. We have the Bitcoin magazine. I forget what their hats were, but made in America, Bitcoin or something like that.
Make Bitcoin great again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They have that.
Didn't
one.
really
Okay.
make sense.
Like, as much as I like the rhetoric, and it's just funny to me, like, it's just kind of like a mega troll. I agree with Nico and saying the idea of like having, or even we kind of talked about it yesterday with Frank about Howard Lutnick going out here and saying like, we want to mine all of the Bitcoin. We want to incentivize that the Bitcoin mining industry in America is one of the biggest ones in the world. And we had Trump go out there and be like, we're going to mine all of the Bitcoin left in America. As much as this is just like funny sound bites, and it's just incredible that we've gotten to this point where the politicians are talking about it. I want to see the hash rate as decentralized as possible in every jurisdiction as possible, because that makes Bitcoin anti-fragile and not susceptible to any one jurisdiction. So look, as much as I'm just as confused as anyone what's going on with all these tariffs, sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off, like there's a 90-day pause on some people. And now there was like a 246% 10% tariff on China, and now they're in trade talks. No one has really any idea. I'm sure even the Trump administration has no idea what they're going to be doing with these tariffs. But we are seeing, and I have been talking with some Bitcoiner miners, and you guys seen it on the show as well. There are, a lot of concerns in the supply chains of getting ASICs into the U.S. And so this is the geopolitical game theory playing out in real time that, hey, if the U.S. does something like these tariffs and trade wars, and it hurts Bitcoin miners to get ASICs in the U.S. because it costs more, other jurisdictions are going to scoop those up. And so is this a bad thing, a good thing? It depends who you're asking. I think if you're asking the Trump administration, they'll say this is a bad thing. I think if you ask, anyone else that's maybe a little farther on the left of that spectrum, they probably have no clue what we're even talking about. But if you're asking Bitcoiners, I'm like, this is kind of a good thing. Maybe you're anti-Russia here and you don't like them. But this is what happens when jurisdictions don't treat trade favorably and they add tariffs and they block stuff coming from China. ASICs are going to get distributed around the world. And I'm kind of all for that. So, on that note, this might be a good thing. I really have no input on like Russia in general because I'm not Russian. I don't know anyone out there. It's hard to get information on what's actually happening there. But if this is the case, this is probably going to be good for the distribution of hash rate around the world. So kind of cool with this. Now, the Florida news, though, I do want to kind of touch on that. Bro, we're seeing all the states just shoot themselves in the foot here. Like
Metaphorically.
the best thing, metaphorically, of course, metaphorically. Yo, bro, that's not good for optics. Sheesh. They should all be embracing Bitcoin. Like at this point, I mean, obviously, and then I'm getting the other side of the coin, like, oh, opties for the state adoption of Bitcoin. It's like, no, if they are smart and they are looking at the playing field honestly, then it's very clear that Bitcoin is the best performing thing to put your wealth in. And if you're trying to maintain that wealth, you probably should be buying Bitcoin. So, New Hampshire is way ahead of the game, and I'm sure those people are going to be happy in 5 to 10 years because they'll probably be one of the richer states in America. And everyone else, we're just going to have fun staying poor. Or also, as someone said, fiat's going to be dead in 10 years. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. James, quick, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the tariffs obviously affecting, multiple areas of more than just mining, but, focusing in on that, I guess ultimately it comes down to whatever country is the cheapest country to live in to import new ASICs in. Hash rate will trend upwards in that country, but I don't know. I think ASICs are already kind of where they are right now. We're not going to start sending them out of the country, and I think over time, if anything, it's like a temporary thing where mining moves out of the U.S. We could have more mining being created in the U.S. and imported out. I think that's the whole idea of the tariffs, right? To create more within the country. So I don't think it's a real issue. And ultimately, I think over time, hash rate probably trends to open source solo mining at home. You see a lot more people doing that now. I think that's only going to grow in the future. So, hopefully home miners can start to take a bigger piece of the pie globally where that doesn't even matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody, before we move on, I do give a shout out to the limited edition Simply Bitcoin merch. Get yours while supplies last. We sold out very quickly last time, selling hats, selling t-shirts like crazy. Check out the Simply Bitcoin hoodie. It's cream. The color is cream. The shirt is cream. And then the alternative black tee is the one I love. I wear it all the time. And guys, get yours while supplies last. We really focus on quality. This is not drop ship. We literally buy it, we hold it in inventory, and we ship it directly to you guys in custom packaging. You guys will absolutely love it. Get your Simply Bitcoin hoodie and merch while supplies last. All right, everybody, let's move on to the culture segment. We're going to talk all things Stamp Seed. We'll be back in just a second. I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining.
you can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.
All right, everybody, we are back, and we got something to show you guys. That's right. There's custom plates right now on stampseed.com. So let's break down the full set first. Let's focus on the custom plates, and then we'll break down the full set. So essentially, the way the Stampseed works, right, is you get yourself the kit. It comes with the hammer, the letter stamping tools, the anvil, and then you literally hammer your seed phrase into the plates, right? So it's got different plates. There's the Simply Bitcoin plate. You got some custom things, but now you have the ability to order custom plates on the stampseed.com store. So if you want to put a custom design, you can upload a Word document, an Adobe PDF, upload the template, and then our friends over at Stampseed will make the custom plate for you guys for the cheap price of $48. This is pure titanium. This will stand the test of time. They dumped it in salt water for multiple days, I think, and it survived, which is absolutely crazy. They've put it through a blowtorch. They put it in a stamping machine, and James tried to bite it, and he broke his teeth. And he had to get teeth replacements. Opti hit it with his car, and the plate survived. Okay, this thing's unbreakable. It's just titanium. They build rockets out of this. This is the proper way to secure your generational wealth. Opti, could you show the full kit for anyone who is unfamiliar with the Stampseed? So essentially, the kit comes with a special hammer. The hammer is made of copper. So when you punch the letters into the plate, the hammer doesn't just bounce back and potentially hit you in the face. It actually makes an indent into the copper so that the letter makes a really good impression into the titanium plate. Obviously, it comes with the anvil. It comes with this cool thing that essentially allows you to line up the plate with so that you make sure that the letters go in the right place. So you only have to buy the kit once. What you can buy multiple times are the seed plates, right? So it's really, really cool. You buy the kit once, you have it for life, and then you want to get more seed plates, you can just do that. You want a non-custom edition, $28. You want a custom edition, $48. You can upload whatever image you want, and of course they have special editions of all these different designs. And of course get yours while supplies last. Right? They got a Cyber Hornet. They got Infinity divided by 21 million. You guys have seen the Simply Bitcoin edition. It's really, really cool, guys. Get yourself a Stampseed kit. Store your seed words properly, and our boy James here is the man. Anyways, James, do you have any additions? Any thoughts?
So like with the custom plates, really cool, like new sector we have, and you're basically uploading anything you want virtually onto the back of that plate. So you're still stamping your seed words on the other side yourself. Yeah, we put a little note there for anyone. We don't want anyone sending us their seed words. You know, there's a lot of new coiners out there and people are just new to the game. We don't want them thinking this is a custom seed company. There was actually a company on Etsy that was doing that. They were saying, give us your seed words and we'll personalize it for you and put it on metal and send them back. So it's a little scary that that's happening. Scammers everywhere, right? But yeah, the custom plates are here. Yeah, get yours done, right? And for anyone, just to add on to that, in the stamp seed design or ours collab line of thinking, we're going to be going to Vegas for the Bitcoin conference coming up at the end of the month. We have some really cool collabs that are going to be released at the conference. One specific to the Bitcoin conference in Vegas that we collab with, and the other one is with the Bitcoin artists in the space. That's a 3-pack and is limited to 21 sets. So we're going to be dropping those in Vegas, and if there's any left, we're going to list them on the site afterwards. And yeah, as far as the saltwater test goes, we tested the titanium plate saltwaters actually for a whole year. We had it in the water on Long Island, getting hit with salt from August 2023 to 2024. There weren't any issues with the plate at all. We ended up taking it out. It was covered with, you know, just like stuff from the sea, seaweed, barnacles, things like that. We brushed off after things was clean as a whistle. We're always just testing these things out, making sure that they withstand, you know, these house fires mainly, but anything else that they could have, you know, if it's in a basement, moist environment, you don't want these things getting rusted or corroded in any way whatsoever. Luckily, titanium is a material, you know, where that won't happen with. So yeah, we're going to keep testing things out, making sure, you know, all works well there, and get your custom plates. And if you're going to Vegas, we have some really cool things that we're going to drop there. So make sure to stop by the booth, come check it out.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
James, I actually have a question on these custom seed plates. Like, how intricate can the art be on these plates? Is there like, can it be super intricate, or did they kind of have to be like basic designs?
It can get pretty intricate. The only problem is when you're dealing with like multicolored designs, it might not translate well. With this, it's really, you want black and white. So it might be limited by that. We are working on getting more color to work with the laser, but that just takes a little bit of time and a little more R&D. So and on the templates that we have on the site, we have all the instructions and rules there. So everyone's set up for success with the upload, but you can get pretty advanced with it. Like, and you get very fine detail with it, lettering, fine lines. So you could try to push it as far as it could get. We tested out a bunch of things to begin with, and we are taking orders in case by case. We haven't had any hiccups yet where we weren't able to produce the design. So maybe as time goes on and we start to learn a little bit more of what this machine could do and what we're able to produce, we could, you know, change things up. But for now, we could take any order in. So far, so good. You know, if there's memes that people want to put on the back, we could probably put certain memes. You could put a picture of Michael Saylor scowling at you when you're getting ready to thinking about selling your Bitcoin or moving it or something like that. You could really put anything there. We've seen people also do things for multi-sig setups where they're putting something on the custom part of the plate that helps identify their multi-sig setup or who owns that particular plate. You see block numbers on plates. That's a thing that a lot of people are doing for some reason. Yeah, just cool little things like that.
Oh yeah, so custom plates now available. I'm gonna make Opti full screen so you guys could take a screenshot if you want Opti on your plate for whatever reason. You could take a screenshot right now, and
you have to do a multi-sig setup with Opti on one.
Opti, can you smile? Can you smile, Opti?
No, I can't.
So take a screenshot right now and have Opti on the back of your seed phrase. And every time you
literally don't do that. Don't do that.
You take a look at your seed phrase, you will have a picture of Opti in HD. So again, take a screenshot right now of Optimus Fields. And yeah. Anyways, guys, this is incredibly awesome. Get your custom titanium seed plate today, only on stampseed.com. And again, if you use promo code SIMPLY, you get 15% off anything on the store. I'm already thinking of a couple things. James asked me, says, Nico, like what do you want to do? And now I know, James. Now I know.
Nice.
Now,
all right.
now I'm responding to you. Now I'm responding to your thing.
No, it should be like reverse psychology. Like, these words mean nothing. Throw it away or something. Like, someone buys it, they're like, or someone finds it, unless you know what it is, it'd be like, this literally is nothing. This is
That's a good
extra
idea.
piece. Yeah, it should be like, if you buy something on IKEA or something and they have like an extra little piece there, it just says like IKEA product, 20000 or something, like excess, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys should use some reverse psychology on this stuff.
That's such a good idea, because like you could, with those 4 holes on the plate, you could screw it into a wall and like write something on there, or like put a picture of a scenery on there. Just someone thinks it's a piece of art. Or, it's like utility box, do not enter, or like, electric shock, don't open, or some shit like that, where it's just on your wall in your garage. Could be pretty cool.
Well, maybe we have to, guys, we could workshop some things to have like an OPSEC version of this so that it doesn't just say Bitcoin on it. Cause people are going to be looking for your treasure, guys. You got to make sure you find ways to divert their attention here.
Yeah. See, we can't put that stuff on the listing though, because then everyone knows what it looks like, right?
There we go.
Start to know what to look for. So keeping it generic like this
is true.
Yeah. But we got some smart Bitcoiners out there. I think a lot of these guys are coming up with their own ideas.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank James for coming on today's show. Obviously, big fan here, big fans here at Simply Bitcoin of the Stamp Seed fellas. This is a key. You need this. You need this if you take self-custody. You want to store your seed phrase properly. Again, don't write down your seed phrase on paper. I've heard horror stories. You guys remember the Los Angeles fires, right? It's a big metropolitan area. No one could have imagined, this, high net worth neighborhood essentially getting burnt to the ground, right? Imagine if you had your seed phrase in there and you wrote it down on paper. It wouldn't have survived the fire, right? I live in Florida. There's lots of hurricanes, right? There's flooding all the time, right? So you do want to think about that. You want to think adversarially, and you want to think long term. And again, I think there's no better way than storing your seed phrase than literally stamping it on titanium, so it could survive the test of time, and you can pass on this generational wealth to your grandchildren. Right. And you can so they can live a better life. So anyways, guys.
Hey, wait, Nico, before we go, there's one last question for James, and I think it's worth saying it out loud. So someone says, do you not ship to the UK? Don't you have official resellers? Or
we do ship to the UK, and we do have resellers in the UK. If you go to the footer of the website, there's some resellers there that you get some faster shipping and cheaper shipping too, because it does get a little expensive with custom duties and all that.
There you go, Chris.
So guys, there's resellers in the UK. Go to the stampseed.com website again, use promo code SIMPLY, get 15% off. Before we tune out for today's show, I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's conference sponsor, Bitcoin 2025. It's coming up May 27th through the 29th. James just said he's going to be there. We're going to party. We're gonna party together. We're gonna stamp some seeds and make some content. It's gonna be at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, the world's largest Bitcoin event. Simply Bitcoin will have a booth in the media area. And guys, embrace game theory. Get your tickets now. Scan the QR code. Use promo code SIMPLY. You get 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2025. Again, get your tickets because the price will increase as time goes by. It's literally in 20 days. The conference is in 20 days. 20 days, ladies and gentlemen. So scan your tickets or check the link in the video description, and we'll see you guys in Las Vegas, Nevada. Guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.